Hello, Mrs. Tente. Welcome to my TED Talk on viruses and COVID-19. You might be wondering why I didn't do this as like the keynote and PowerPoint and voice recorder or whatever. Well, that's just because you wouldn't get to see the cool effects if I did it like that. So yeah, enjoy this little video. So first, let's talk about the basics. What are viruses? Virus is an infective agent that typically consists of nucleic acid molecule in a protein coat, and it is too small to be seen by light microscopy. I cannot say that word for the life of me. So what are some examples? Well, the flu, chickenpox, COVID-19, and mono. And how do they reproduce? They lack the ability to replicate on their own, so viruses are merely teeny packets of DNA or RNA genes enfolded in a protein coating on the hunt for a cell they can dominate. And that's why they're so dangerous, is because they just enter human cells and they dominate over them. Now let's talk about the human respiratory system. We all know the main function of the respiratory system is to get oxygen in and carbon dioxide out and to keep us breathing and alive. And we all know the main organ of the respiratory system is the lungs. But I'd like to focus in on a little organ that's inside of the lungs called the alveolus. I think I'm saying that right. And those are the air sacs that allow carbon dioxide and oxygen to go between the bloodstream and the lungs. And we're going to talk about why that's so important with COVID-19 in a minute. My apologies, my mom's on a conference call in the back of Brown, so you might hear some murmurs in and outs. But now that we've got the basics, let's talk about COVID-19. What is it? COVID-19 is a flu-like respiratory disease that attacks the heart and lungs and blood and many organs, and it's very dangerous, as we all know. When and where? December 2019, in a place known as Wuhan, China. And when did it become a public health emergency? Or mid-February to late February. There are multiple different theories about the source of the coronavirus. My personal favorite is that it came from a lab, because the biggest lab is in Wuhan, and then a week after the first cases were detected, China released safety protocols when handling things in a lab. But there's also theories about like a man eating bat soup and stuff, and I don't know enough about it to agree with that theory. And now the spread. Obviously, like people do, they traveled in and out of China, and it spread to the rest of the world, and now we have this international pandemic. But how it can spread from person to person is you come in contact with an infected person when they sneeze or cough, or when a person touches a surface or object that has the virus, and then they touch their eyes, their nose, their mouth, their ears, a part of their face. Let's talk statistically. So I did my research April 7th of 2020, which is like 3 days after and when you'll be seeing this, Mrs. Tente, so the data might be a little different. But worldwide, there was about 1,400,000 cases, 300,000 recovered, 82,000 have died, which is super unfortunate. United States is in the lead. I hate saying that like it's a competition, but the United States has the most cases with about 400,000, and then Spain and Italy right after that. And then when we zoom into the states where we live, New York has the most with 138,000, and then New Jersey with 44,000, and then Michigan with 18,000. If you're looking at the diagram on the screen, you'll notice that Michigan is above New Jersey and New York, and that is because that is where I live. So Google is just telling me what's going on where I live. All right, now let's talk about the symptoms. There's 4 major ones. The first one is fatigue. Second is fever. Third is shortness of breath, and the fourth one is coughing. If you have a runny nose or you're sneezing, that is not a symptom. A lot of people think it is, but it really isn't. Here's some precautionary measures you can take to prevent yourself from getting COVID-19 and to prevent the spread of it. Wash your hands. That's the first thing. It's the thing people are most encouraging you to do. No touching your face. I said no touching your face, so stop smiling. Thank you. Stay home and only go out in the case of an emergency, an actual emergency, not even necessity anymore. So if you can have your groceries delivered, do that. Wait, I just told you not to go out. Where are you going? All right, let's get anatomical with it. First, what does it do to your blood? Well, coronavirus directly infects blood cells and bone marrow stromal cells, and it can also induce antibodies, which are the warriors for fighting foreign diseases and infections. Next, what does it do to the lungs? Well, in more severe cases, the coronavirus damages both the wall and the lining cells of the alveolus, which is what we talked about during the basics, and capillaries. Then debris builds up and begins to cover the walls, like if paint were covering a wall. Then damaged capillaries will leak plasma proteins, making the wall even thicker, and eventually the wall will get so thick oxygen won't be able to transfer, and that's where the shortness of breath comes from. Alright, now let's talk about immune responses. The immune system immediately will attack the foreign virus by generating antibodies, but the coronavirus induces antibodies, so that's why that won't work. And then there are lymphocytes to also help fight the infection, but the lymphocytes will become exhausted and the damaged cells induce innate inflammation in the lungs that is largely mediated by pro-inflammatory macrophages or granulocytes. And so we really need a vaccine to help protect against these viruses, but however, we don't have one and we're not projected to have one for 16, 18 months. So what vaccines do is vaccines work by training the immune system to recognize and combat pathogens, viruses, or bacteria. By injecting these antigens into the body, the immune system can safely learn and recognize them as hostile invaders, make antibodies, and keep them in mind for the future. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk. I hope you enjoyed, and just remember to stay safe and be healthy. Woo!